Recording started.
Recording started.
Awesome. Let's dive right in. How
Let's
are you
do
today,
it.
Stephanie?
I'm pretty good. It's been like a bizarre start to the year. I've heard
Mhm.
that from everyone. I keep saying
Definitely.
bizarre and weird, and people are like, that's a very tactful way to say it, Stephanie. And it is. And we'll continue with that tactful and professional response to the
Yes.
beginning of 2025. I do like the meme that's like, is 2025 just three 2020s stacked together in a trench coat? I am hopeful not, but we
Seen
shall
that
see.
one.
It's
Oh,
good, right?
yeah. Yeah. We are having a wild
Yeah,
ride already.
it is. It is. Hopefully we have some normalcy sooner rather than later, but we'll see.
I I actually think it was maybe Gallup or maybe McKinsey put out some infographics the other day, and they were talking about people feeling like things have returned to normal. Like, I'm not a supporter of that mindset.
Yeah,
I really feel
I
like
agree.
it just needs to be, are we moving ahead? I don't want us to go backwards. We did gain some things, even though we've also had some losses in the last few
Progress,
years. And this
progress
idea that we're going to go
like that.
back to normal is like,
Well, and I'm very Aquarius of us. What is normal anyway? Okay,
right?
does
That's
normal even
exactly.
exist?
Mhm. And I would argue it does not.
Same. See, Aquariuses. I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah.
You know what? But we can always count on books to help
Mhm.
us through whatever iteration of a year we're having. So that's good at
What
least.
a seamless transition.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because that is what we get to talk about today is
Yeah.
books. And, I've prepped some questions for us so that we can just talk books.
Very
Um, and I like to, it probably represents the fact that I'm basically a 5-year-old wrapped in a much older body. I'm really curious to know. Well, I need my afternoon nap. I like to have fruit
excited.
snacks, all the stuff.
I don't trust anyone who doesn't like fruit snacks. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah. But one thing I wanted us to share right off the bat, because I think it can tell a lot about the person and it's a fun point to connect, is what book from your childhood impacted you as a reader?
Oh, it's such a hard and good question. Um, this is the first book that comes to mind, so I'm going to stick with it, is The
Okay.
Giver by Lois
Oh,
Lowry.
good. Lowry is so
Yeah. I love that book. And I've gone back. I'm not a big rereader.
good. Okay.
I'm a variety gal. And so I'm not a big rereader, but that is a book I have read several times in my life and
Mhm,
in different places. And there's always just like something more I get from it.
mhm,
And it like just the imagery in the book, like there's just so much there. And it's
mhm.
like
Have
I
you read
can't
the
even put into
sequel?
words. So what?
Yeah, have you read the sequel?
I haven't, and so it's been on my list to read. I think because aren't there three?
I don't remember.
There's
I
more.
remember
Like
Gathering Blue.
yes, so it's Gathering Blue. The internet is going to tell us it's a
Yeah.
quartet. There
Oh,
are four books.
oh my goodness.
It's The
I'm so far
Giver,
behind.
Gathering Blue, Messenger, and Sun.
Okay. The other
So
two must
okay,
have come out after I left the bookstore.
so Messenger is 2004 and Sun
Yep.
is 2012.
Yeah, those are both post bookseller life. Yeah. I don't know if you saw
Interesting.
me respond in that workshop on Saturday. That's something I
Mhm,
do miss as much as I would never want to go back to retail. I
mhm.
do miss working in a bookstore and having that like insider
In.
knowledge of this is what's coming out, advanced reader copies, all that juicy stuff. It's
Mhm.
good.
Now I'm like, the last thing I need is more books to add to my TBR, Kate. But now I'm like, well, I better go read the rest of the Giver series.
But they're children's books. They're middle grade. Yeah, it will. You
Well,
could
when
read
you
all
say it like
four.
that.
You can read all four in a day.
Probably, yes. Correct. Fair
Exactly.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your answer?
Bridge to Terabithia,
Ooh,
Catherine Patterson. Very
another good
first
one.
book that made me cry. And
Mhm.
that's, as a small child, crying while reading this book. And in retrospect, what I love, appreciate, respect so much about Patterson's writing is her ability to recognize that children have full-sized emotions.
Yeah.
Some of this may be the fact that I'm, a 70s, 80s kid where a lot of what was being written at that point was pretty
Yeah.
lightweight. And Bridge to Terabithia is not a lightweight book by any stretch. And it just felt more real than anything I'd read to that point. And I've reread it a few times. I am a bit of a rereader depending on the particular book, but I think that book is what turned me into a reader.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
The Arthur books turned me
Yes.
into a reader. My mom loves to tell this story. Like I
Mhm.
was a very reluctant reader as a
Oh,
young child. To really throw it back though, I loved the original
yeah.
Arthur book series. And so I had like stacks of those bad boys that would get at the Scholastic Book Fair. And
Mhm.
Arthur, also, if we want to go really, really young, really throw it back, Arthur books.
Yeah.
I
Well,
tell you.
Berenstain Bears were some of those for me.
Yeah, nice.
Um, I I pestered my mom about when I was going to learn to read for ages, and she'd be like, "When you get to first grade,
Oh,
they're going to teach you." When they get to first grade, I have since kind of like accusingly been like, "Why didn't you teach me? You could have taught me." She's like, "I have no idea, Kate." But I remember coming home from the first day of first grade so mad. I was so mad because they didn't teach us how to read on day one.
oh my goodness.
I had been
Okay,
warned.
that's adorable.
Yeah. You said when I got to first grade I was going to learn. I am home on day one. I don't know yet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also reflecting now, like one of my favorite genres of book is like dystopian fiction. And I'm
Mhm.
like, how fitting. I'm like, The Giver.
Yep. Yep. I do. Well, it's like so many things. What you encounter in your childhood, it imprints on you. Because, yeah, I love me, a good tragic tearjerker too.
See, there we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's fast forward a little bit.
All
Do
right.
you have, so that's from our childhood. Do you have a more recent kind of touchstone book, one that you can return to, whether it's just like to escape or to be inspired?
It's so hard because there's so many great
Yeah,
books.
I can answer this one while you're thinking.
Yes, please do. Yes.
Um, I feel like it may be a little inconsequential, but Pride and Prejudice, honestly,
Yeah.
and it's not so much for inspiration, but just for my own enjoyment. It's a book that I can reread a lot because Austen's light touch about how foible filled humans are, the humor, and knowing that she was a pretty sheltered woman even for that time, as the
Mhm.
single spinster, horrible phrase, uh, that she was able to observe from her sitting room and create these characters who were both in some cases very one-dimensional, but also so deep.
Mhm.
It's magnificent, magnificent. And yeah, what an amazing opening line, too. It is a truth universally acknowledged. The single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife.
I love how funny it is too. Just this deep sat I don't think a lot of people who don't appreciate Austen don't get the satire, like how freaking funny it is.
Yeah, exactly right.
So yes, what a good pick. This is like, I'm still like, I'm having such a hard time. Like there are like
Mhm.
pieces of like several books I've read over the last few years that are just like key to me. So like one that I think about is the Book of Longings. It is, I'm making sure I'm saying this right. I'm terrible with remembering names. It's Sue Monkit. It is. It's right.
Oh, okay.
The Book of
Yeah.
Longings. So this is such a silly little story. So like, when like you're scrolling Instagram, sometimes you'll see like, you should read this book if you're like an
Mhm.
Aquarius. Did I buy this book because it was like, if you're an Aquarius or something like that, you would like this book? And I was like, you know what? Heck yeah, I'm gonna get that book and read it. And it like reignited my passion for reading. Like I
Really?
remember it just being like, it was so good, it was so interesting. It like really pulled me in, and it like totally reignited my passion for reading. And I remember just like reading so much more again after I read
Mhm.
that. And then over the course of the last few years, like there have been a couple of other books that have really stuck with me. One is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I know it is one that people love. It's by Gabrielle Zevin. Specifically, like there is one chapter in that book. It's the NPC chapter. I
Okay.
think about it all the time. No spoilers, but it
Yeah, I
is just,
haven't read it yet, so don't.
oh, Kate, you've got to read it.
Yes.
It is such a good book, and it's like really, it's really just like about friendship and humanity and lot. Like it is so good, and it is, get ready to cry, Kate.
Okay.
Um, and like it's a book I would never have picked up. Like the description is like gamers and like things like that.
Mhm.
I'm like, not for Stephanie. Like I can't play games other than like
Yeah.
Candy Crush on my phone. It is so good. And then this is going to sound so pretentious, and I don't mean it to, but I
Well, let's get.
genuinely really love the book IQ 83 by Murakami. It is an old book. It had been sitting on my shelf forever, and it's like long. So I was like, oh, I don't know, blah, blah. And I finally
Good.
read it at the end of last year,
Okay.
and I absolutely loved it. It's not for everyone. Magical realism, not for
Mm.
everyone.
No, it's not.
But it was so phenomenal. It was just like there's so much about it that really like sticks in my mind still.
Mhm.
It really kind of opened up my willingness to like read other genres or read things that feel not my typical read, even if
Okay.
I've read in that genre before and didn't like it, because I've read magical realism before and it wasn't like for me.
Mhm.
But this was just like, I wish I could read, like, when you wish you could read a book for the first time again.
Yes. Yeah, that's
I that
actually,
feeling for that book so
yeah.
much.
This has me thinking of A Prayer for Owen Meany.
Mm.
It's one of those books where I could, you know how there are moments where you sort of feel your brain change, like the way you see the
Yeah.
world and you think about things, you can feel the change. I remember I was working on campus over the summer, lying in my dorm room, on the top bunk, reading this book, and just being like flayed open by the way
Mm.
the plot unraveled or played out. Irving's ability to create what I think of it as a helix structured plot line where things
Ooh,
just weave together in this continually kind of moving forward way, but everything is connected, and it blew my brain.
I love that. I
Wow,
love that. I
wow.
love that.
The end is so powerful, but everything that happened, he had telegraphed, and it was still just a
That's,
devastating
can you
surprise.
imagine? Can
Mhm.
you imagine being that good of a writer? I can't imagine being that good of a planner.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you can imagine being that good of a planner. I cannot imagine being that good of a planner.
Sometimes I can imagine. I think about some of the systems you hear people have, where they're building their worlds or they're planning out long series, like J.K. Rowling having the boxes for all the Harry Potter books. Like, what would that be like? That's brilliant. So what are you reading today?
Know. What am I reading today? So I just finished a book, so I don't know what book I'm going to start. What's next? I'm torn between two for my next selection because I want like the right mood, the right vibe. And so I'm either going to start. So I just finished Count My Lies, and it was okay. It was all right. It was I do book of the month club.
Okay.
And it was a thrill. It's a thriller. I think I read a lot of thrillers, so a lot of the twists just really don't like strike me anymore. But it was a good thriller. It was a doable thriller. I think it was like a GMA book club pick too. It was if you're looking for like a quick fun like thriller-esque beach read, sure. But I think I'm either gonna start I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman, which the internet is abuzz with. Or the other option is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan, which are wildly different books.
Those are very
and I can't decide what I want. Like I Who Have Never Known Men sounds like right up my alley. It also sounds like I love a very short, like, what did I just read kind of book. So I feel like I would enjoy that, but then also like, I don't know. Have you read either of them?
I have not. Yeah. I think I've got I Who Have Never Known Men on my want to read list. Yeah. I'm working my way very slowly because I didn't finish it in time for book club. Now it's just, I pick at it occasionally. When Women Were Dragons.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's an interesting concept. It's by Kelly. Come here. I want to see you. Kelly Barnhill.
Okay.
I know, having gone to a book club discussion about it, I know how some of the ending things are going to play out, which isn't entirely demotivating, but it has slowed my reading down. But I'm about halfway through it, and there are moments where it's a really interesting look at mid-century women's issues, and other times where I'm a little disappointed because it's just this one little slice, and dealing with, oddly enough, apparently most of the dragons in the world that happened during this great event seem to be in Wisconsin. Everything's in Wisconsin in this book.
So okay, I'm not. I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
I know.
All right.
You had some good jokes about that because I'm like, this really seems to be this middle class white woman problem that's happening. But
well, as dragons are.
Yeah, I mean, but not every book can be all things to all people. So there is a point for that, and it's no surprise that my middle class white woman book club ends up reading books like that.
Yes, there's something to be said about that. I know it is so interesting. Like there'll be these moments where people will love a book, where a book will be universally loved, and it doesn't land for me, and then I'm like, I don't want to say anything, but it's just like I think we're all just different. You know what I mean? It's just we're different experiences. Exactly. And like at the heart of it, reading does so much for us, but at the heart of it, it's for our enjoyment, for our learning, for our enjoyment. So enjoy it. Well, like I love a thriller. I enjoy them. Awesome. I continue to read them.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're going to spend time doing anything, it needs to give you something, right? Whether it's, if I'm going to be at work, am I being paid? Am I somewhat fulfilled?
Yeah.
I'm spending time with a friend. Are we healthy for each other?
Yeah.
If I'm going to read,
all the
am I
things.
enjoying it
Yes.
or learning from it? And I think one could
Totally.
argue, even if you're reading, well, I do argue that even if you're reading primarily fiction, if you're a novel reader, you are learning from it.
Yes. Yes.
Vocabulary, empathy, imagination,
Mm-hmm.
all those good things, which is another, thank you for setting us up so well for this, ma'am. Another good transition. We've been talking sort of about books from our past and what we're reading now, but we're doing all of this specifically for this project that we've had in the works for several months now, related to this idea of looking at books as a way to better and deeper understand the idea of trauma-informed workplaces and improving how we lead through that lens. Where you have this idea, this mission to embed trauma-informed principles, and I am obsessed with helping leaders improve as well. So why books if we're doing that? In other words, what do they have to do with our work?
Yeah, I think everything. I mean, I think part of it for me is, how many times have you been working with someone and you ask what they're reading and you get like the business answer? You know exactly what I mean. You get the like, I'm reading like Radical Candor, which I actually enjoy Radical Candor, so that's fine. Or some other like book that I like would never willingly want to read. Like, I don't know, but like, especially men. I will say, especially men in the workplace, I think very much are driven to nonfiction. I love nonfiction. I also love fiction. And I think there is a piece where, through the pandemic, over the last few years, we've seen a resurgence of people reading and reading for pleasure and enjoyment. A lot of that's fiction. TikTok, Instagram, Bookstagram, what have you. I'm a member of the world's largest book club, the Bad Bitch Book Club, shout out. Where you have people reading all these different books, and we can learn so much about other experiences. It opens windows to so much, and you can do it in a really enjoyable way through fiction. And I think there's like this little like, I'm going to just not be tactful about it. I think there's like this attitude out in the world. There's kind of this pretension around what books count as real learning or being really well read or whatever. And I'm like, all books count. And there's something we can get from all books. And I think when, people like yourself and I can draw these direct connections for folks, we can help propel the idea, the enjoyment of reading a diverse type of books, whether they're fiction, nonfiction, memoir. Like, we can read so much and so many different things and make these connections, and then also encourage people to make those connections as well. Because let's be real, the bestsellers out there on the top bestseller list are not, the 4 stages of psychological safety. But we can learn about psychological safety from books that we read. There's this book, The Lipstick Network. I'm just randomly thinking of this.
Okay.
And it talks about, it's kind of like a post Me Too movement work of fiction. And it talks about women experiencing sexual harassment, sexual assault, abuse in a workplace. It's fiction.
Yeah.
But what can we learn about psychological safety? Like, what can we take from that? And you can draw like some pretty specific lines from some of these stories to some of these things we're talking about a lot in our world. And you and I have, explored it kind of extensively when we look at trauma-informed workplaces, when we look at these principles. Yes, of course, there are some great nonfiction books. There's some great, pretty like heavy research literature around it. But also I think there's a more relatable, more palatable, easier way to help folks make these connections. And so why wouldn't we do it?
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think one of the things to add in is this idea that storytelling has such a role to play at work. A lot of times an untapped resource to help people connect to mission, to help this is something I've been thinking a lot about. I've built out a presentation that I've given a few times about the role of storytelling in both the function of leading, but then also for learning and development professionals.
Yeah.
And, there are so many moments in the employee experience where stories have a part to play. Even just these very tactical, practical moments. When we do behavior-based interviewing, that's storytelling. There was a time when I did X and Y happened. Great feedback is telling a story. Once upon a time, you did this, and this is what resulted from it. And then you can use a story to paint a picture of this is the future that we need to go toward as well. So knowing storytelling is important for us tells us that easy source of stories, books, has a part to play.
I love that so much. I'm so glad you added that, because I do. I think collectively we've lost the plot a little in terms of storytelling and communicating, especially at work. So I love that. I think that it's so true, because I mean, stories are what move us. It's why, there's, the idea that people are more moved by an individual story than statistics.
Yep.
Because stories do have this power. They do move us. And I think how we leverage them in the right way, it's a big deal. It's so important. So I thank you for adding that. I'm really glad you did, because that is huge.
Yeah. And the way empathy is impacted by our reading, empathy is the surest way to become a mind reader. Right? This is what's going on inside another person's mind. We don't get that in other settings, sometimes not even in conversation. But the written word, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, even in a business book, it's mind reading. This is what this expert, this leader, this thinker thinks about something. Books let us time travel. We can make all these kind of fun little plays, and it's a way for us to see through other people's eyes, to learn from our past, both individually and collectively, and to get better at imagining what people need for the future as well.
And it's still also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
So because I brought this up, when did I bring it up? I can't even remember why I brought it up, but I was like, when I said it's always weird when you're like, you like a book, you don't like a book that everyone seems to like. So in the spirit of serving tea, what's a book that everyone seems to like that you didn't really like? This is very off topic, but I can't.
No, I love it. I love it. And so many books, so little time. What is a book that I was left lukewarm about? I'm gonna have to look at my Goodreads profile for a second. So you share with me first.
Okay, I am don't start a riot outside of my house when I say this, everyone. But I did not enjoy Lessons in Chemistry. I didn't like it.
Same. Oh my goodness.
Really?
I did not like it either. I think some of it was I listened to the audiobook, and some of the voice actors' choices annoyed the dickens out of me.
I think that's an excellent point. Yes.
Yeah. If I had been reading it and it was the voice inside my head as opposed to the listening voice, I might have been less antagonistic toward it. But yeah, I agree with you. It was not a favorite.
What didn't you like about it? What was where did it get you?
I don't think the main character was very sympathetic, despite despite what she'd been through,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt she was antagonistically feminist. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand some of those choices,
Mm-hmm.
considering, the era, a woman trying to get into the sciences. I can understand it, but it doesn't mean I have to like the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she was the main character, she made it so that everything revolved around her
Mm-hmm.
ultimately. Like I felt her partner really got the short end of the stick. And not
Yeah,
because he was a bad guy. It's
right.
just she I don't think she really loved him. I think he was convenient for her, and that was annoying to me.
So I have like, I too had beef with main character. I think I like the way you framed that around like antagonistically feminist. I think it was, I like that. I may just steal that. I think also it was just like, what, like most of the time I was just like, what? This isn't relatable at all. It was like pick me feminism, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like it was like, I'm
Yeah.
not like other girls. Like, look how hard I'm not like other girls. I'm just like other girls.
Right?
Okay. Like, it was very much like, I think too, like the very much like the conflict with like the other women in the office, like that was like the pick me
Mhm.
feminism that I
Yeah.
didn't love, and it was just like wildly unrealistic. It was just wildly unrealistic. I also felt like there were some like thematic elements in the book that were unnecessary and
Mm,
quite jarring. But that was mine. I'm glad it's not just me, and I'm
no.
glad, but like I was like, oh, this book, it wasn't for me. I also will say, um, my mother read the book and she pointed out, I'm like, you are deeply not like this character at all, and so I think you may have had a really hard time relating to this character. I'm like, okay, fair. I could see that.
Yeah.
Can't remember exactly how she framed like you would never do some of these things, and I was like, okay, yeah, I could see that.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my like number one. Like, it wasn't for me. Everyone is shook that I
Uh,
didn't like it. I watched the show and I found it slightly better,
well, that's
but
good.
still it wasn't for me.
I mean, it really could only improve.
I think it was well acted. And so some of the like implied neurodivergence that some people have said was in the book, I think came through a little bit better, and it made it a little more relatable, but it still wasn't a favorite of mine.
I I I want to be careful about this because I don't want to make sweeping statements.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have to say I'm not especially chuffed about the tendency to ascribe
Yeah.
things like aggressiveness or tone deafness or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
um, to neurodivergence.
Yeah, because it's not.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a stereotype.
it
It may be true for
is.
some people, but it's stereotype. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so
I didn't read the book as that. Like, full
I didn't
disclosure,
either.
I didn't read the book as that, but I know a lot of the discourse around the book
Yeah,
was the
and I
kind
can
of around that. I was like,
yeah.
okay.
I'm actually a lot more comfortable saying that some of the unlikable qualities had to do with being a woman in the 50s and 60s,
Yes.
trying to, you know, turn over the apple cart of the
Yes.
established male dominated science world, rather than saying that she, yeah, was neurodivergent in some way.
Hmm. Yeah,
No.
I think it's
Hmm.
I think we like to self-diagnose and character diagnose a lot now.
Hmm.
That can often make things challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because who knows, and I don't know, maybe Bonnie Garbus has talked about it, but who knows what the intention really was there.
Yeah. I
I
don't
mean,
know. And it's not that it was a book I hated, but I was surprised by how much the rest of the world seemed to love it when I was like, eh.
I kind of hated it.
It was in a lot of ways really forgettable.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and that's one of the things for me, I think, is why does it get so much attention when
I mean, lots of people love it. And
yeah.
I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum or whatever, but it was really surprising to me because usually it would be something like, I'm not a romance reader.
Mhm.
It's not my typical genre. I really struggle enjoying romance reads. And so for me, like something like that, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't for me. But like the people, the type of book, it was a surprise that it wasn't my jam.
Yeah, I had the same kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was going to be a game-changing read for me, and instead,
Not really.
yeah, yeah. I think that is probably I'll make that my answer too, rather than trying to add
Oh,
one. I almost had one and it slipped away.
oh, all right. Well, it's because you just were like, yes, me too. I'm glad it's not just me. This is probably why we are like kindred readers because like
Mhm.
we're like that one didn't do it for us.
Not at all.
And like truly, I can't think of many other people who like my best friend loved it, my mom loved it. I'm over here like not for me,
No,
not
thank
into it.
you.
Like the rowing. The rowing. What who is doing the rowing?
So I thought the
This is
rowing
the
was
like
one of the highlights, actually. I would prefer all the rowing to the cooking show.
I don't but who is out here cooking and rowing and doing science and with a talking dog? Does the dog talk or just think thoughts in their
Think
head that we can
thoughts.
hear?
Think thoughts.
I
And
enjoyed the
then,
dog. I
oh
did
yeah.
enjoy the dog.
Yeah.
Dog was the highlight of the book for me.
Yes. And I feel like there are dog characters that have been done better, like The Art of Racing in the Rain. That
Oh,
dog,
I'm afraid that that would make me
magnificent.
cry, and I
Oh,
haven't
it
read
will. It will, but in a good way.
it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'll take that under advisement.
Great. So the next question that I prepared, Stephanie, I believe it should be our final question every time we do
All
one of
right.
these, just
Perfect.
to give you a heads up there. It's
All
one
right.
I plan on asking us a lot,
I
or
love
you,
it.
or if we have guests. Um, what are you going to read next? And you started talking about this, but let's put it out there.
All right. So I think I'm going to read next. I've decided while we've been talking, I'm just going to read I Who Have Never Known Men next.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm going to go hard. I'm going to give a follow-up and do a nonfiction book that has been on my list for a while. And it's Seeing Others, How Recognition Works and How It Can
Ooh.
Heal a Divided World. Those are my
Ooh.
next two books.
Oh, we should make that a book club book.
I know, right? And that's why I want to read it because it's relatively short.
Mhm.
It's by Michelle Lamont. I'm super excited
Okay.
about it. So more to come on that book since I've committed to reading it.
Yeah. I am doing the debate with myself right now between another novel or something in my nonfiction stack.
Mm.
Um, and I think I may give myself a break and do a short nonfiction book called AI for All:
Ooh.
How Everyday People Can Benefit from Artificial Intelligence by Sean Schuster. Because I've been reading a lot of like posts and things about AI, and
Yeah.
naming my own chat GBT PT, a weird name for my own entertainment, but
Mine's named Penelope.
oh, Hilda.
Yeah. Ooh, very
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, I think reading something that's organized and solely focused could be good. But then I also have another one that I feel is a kind of a bridge between reading something more treatise-like and treatise and a novel. It's a collection of short stories about AI.
Ooh.
Yeah, stories from 2045, edited by Callum Chase.
Ooh, that
So
sounds really good.
maybe that's what I'll do next. That's what I'll do next. I've decided.
All right.
Stories
I
from
love it.
2045.
Amazing. I love it.
Yes.
All
Cool.
right. Well, it looks like we have a plan. This was fantastic.
Yeah. So we've got some things to communicate that we'll have kind of tacked on
Yes.
when our book club meetings are going to start, what some of the other schedule look like, and we'll be back here in podcast form in a month or two for subscribers to talk about a yet to be named title.
Amazing. Very excited.
Yeah, me
This
too.
was super fun. Thank you.
It always is. It's good to see you, friend.
You too.